The presentation will be structured in these 3 parts. I hope I can make it in very short time, half an hour, and then there will be time for questions and answers. We will start by presenting what is MISMeC, the Master of Sustainable Intervention on the Built Environment. At the moment, we are assuming that you are familiar with the program. There is plenty of information uploaded on our website, which is continuously in progress of improvement. But today we're planning for a more tailored, customized presentation for those attending today. So on that website, you will be able to download this brochure in PDF format, where the very basics of the program, the academic information is posted and written down. Essentially, we are a 60 ECTS credits program, meaning according to the European higher education framework for studies, that means a full-time, whole year master program. The program, you see here some numbers, what is our structure, the approach we have, and the career prospects, what we provide you with after this education. So everything is very synthesized here, and you can see it very in a first glance. But rather than that, we suggest you that you go to other sources like alumni experiences that are uploaded, some of them on our website. And so you will get some first-hand impression of what our program is about, what is the lifetime experience here with us in Barcelona, as well as the outcomes, activities, and many events that happen along the year within our program. You can see them, check them on our Instagram account. So let's start with the program itself, and later on I will go to the contents. This is the schedule of our program. As I mentioned, it's a one-year program that starts early September. I think the date for next academic year is already approved. It will be the 9th of September. And the first term expands from that time, first week of September, until the 3rd week of December. During that time, our program is structured in 3 independent courses, and they deal with what we call metabolic flows, energy, water, and society, and then strategies for intervention, regenerate, re-inhabit, and refurbish, which relate, or they are related, with the different architectural scales. Each subject is a 5 credits course that spans in 15 weeks with a in-class dedication by us, instructors, of 3 hours per week. And the second term consists of a studio-based work, half of the time. I will explain this in more detail later on. And then the master thesis, which spans from early February until September. So the program spans from early September 2024 to early September 2025. That could be the duration of the program. And here is the schedule of the classes. I will come back to this later on. How we deal with this? Our program, I will go back to some images. Our program deals with sustainability, and we see sustainability when it comes to the built environment, not only focused as an approach based on technological fixes, meaning that today there is a wide array of strategies, technologies, devices that allegedly could allow us to walk towards a more sustainable environment, a more sustainable future, meaning that the use of renewable energies, soft mobility, urban farming, all these strategies are seen as a part of a wider vision, which consists in this sustainable environment in the future. But having that in our contents, our approach is very much based on previous reflections, that they are very much embedded into societal needs and into the cooperation with local agents. So To put it as an example, before deciding whether we intervene on the built environment by installing PV panels, for instance, photovoltaic panels, we always ask ourselves whether that's the wisest strategy to intervene. It may be the case that for some contexts that would be the most appropriate strategy, but in some others we deal with some alternative strategies like lowering the energy consumption, analyzing the metabolism of the different dwellings, what are their needs, their demands, their consumption, the available resources. So we start with this more holistic inquiry about the different components of sustainability. Sustainability is a very wide term today, and there are many ramifications. So our approach is that we start with the very basics. Before proposing strategies for intervention, we try to understand the different systems, the different material and metabolic flows that are intertwined in this complex reality, which are cities. Our object of work, our goal, are cities, built environments, and that those are hubs for a very complex array of flows, call it water, energy, materials, organic matter, that they somehow build a very dense net of flows and interactions between needs, demands, consumption patterns, and so on and so forth. So our master, even though it's embedded or it's part of or it's delivered by a School of Architecture, there is always a very deep understanding, very deep debate about what is needed, what is the most appropriate approach to sustainability. So, going back to our methodology, we always work with specific realities. So this is Barcelona. Barcelona for us is our field of knowledge. So the city core is here, is home of 1.5 million inhabitants, but our reality is a far more complex one, which is the metropolitan area of Barcelona. This is what you see on this image. It's a home of 3.5 million inhabitants. So we use that reality that we have at hand, that we know quite well, that the information sources are at hand, as a kind of laboratory for our master program. We have been developed this in the last 12 years. We will start with the 13th edition next year, and for every edition we've chosen a particular challenge, a particular problem that we want to address through our master program. And the way to do that is to build a teamwork. Both professors and students, we cooperate very closely in giving a proper response to some challenges that the society poses to us. We have a very close relationship with the societal environment, either public administrations, local agents, resident associations, and we work very closely with them. In the last 2 years, we have chosen, you see here, what we call the 2 most interesting socio-environmental corridors in the metropolitan area of Barcelona. They are basically rivers, and we study them not because they are rivers, not only because of that, but because in relation with the geographical position, they are places where several very interesting socio-environmental conflicts and frictions are happening today. Call it industrial, obsolete industrial areas, residential areas, metabolic infrastructure like waste management plants, energy production plants, water treatment plants. So typically all these corridors are the magnets for this kind of activities. The Red Cross is where our School of Architecture is located. It's a quite small School of Architecture if you compare it with the average size of schools in Spain and in many Southern Europe countries. It's around 800 students, which, as I said, according to our standards, it's middle size, but still we got to know each other quite well. And the atmosphere, the academic environment is very pleasant, and everyone knows each other, and it's a very good environment. I have some more pictures later on that I can show you regarding our campus. Some images, case study. We work with this idea of case study. This is this environmental corridor or socio-environmental corridor, as I mentioned, as it looked like in the mid-50s, like century, and how it looks like today. So, building on that, we have selected some areas where these socio-environmental conflicts are happening, and what you see here on the rectangle, on the right side of the image, there you can see what we are going to focus for the next academic year. We pay a big deal of attention to the assets, to the existing assets there, being history a provider for information, how processes of urbanization have happened a long time, and what are their impact on the built environment. And we try to disclose assets that are still there, even though they are not visible, they are not explicit, but we start by understanding what are the potentialities and the capacities of these different territories, no matter how the city looks like today. Afterwards, of course, the existing situation is the main provider for information, but we also like very much to pay attention to these previous states, right? And for these years, particularly for the coming academic year, we will focus on the area that you're seeing now on the screen. An area that was very rapidly urbanized 70 years ago, and it's now under a process of obsolescence, right? So there are issues like energy scarcity, energy poverty. As you may know, also water cycle is fundamental, is a critical issue at this moment here in all over the world for sure, but in Southern Europe it's a must. It's something that we need to pay attention. And many of these conflicts that we are seeing today, they were initiated, or the genesis for those conflicts happened in 70 years ago. So this is an image showing you how they are planting buildings instead of crops or trees in this particular area. And this is the neighborhood we are going to work on next year, just a first presentation. So what our object for attention looks like. This is one example. We have been working in similar situations in the past, and we plan to do that in the future as well. So our staff. These are the professors that we will be delivering the master program. As I mentioned, there are 3 courses that deal and focus on what we call metabolic flows. They refer to water, city and water, with Elena Alvareda, who is an incredible expert on the issue, energy with Thorsten Masek and Mariana Palumbo, and then when it comes to society, which we see also as a very important flow to pay attention to, we have Marta Serra. And there are, besides those metabolic flows, there are 3 more courses that they work on the different scales, the different approaches according to scales to this reality. Regenerate, which deals with urban planning and sustainable urbanism, that's me, Adolfo Toca. And then Re-inhabit, that deals with architectural scale, the object, the architectural typology, and then the more technical one, the material one, construction details and so on, which is in the hands of Paulo Garrido. As I mentioned, we are here to help you. So it's not our teaching methodology is not unidirectional. It's not like we are going to class and deliver knowledge, and at the end there will be an exam. It's not like that. Here, we strongly believe in cooperation, both between professors and students, but also among students themselves. So this is a typical image of the working atmosphere, the working environment in our studio. This is the class, or the classroom that we have allocated for this master program. And you see here students working together with the different assignments that the courses are giving to the different working groups. And we discuss a lot. And we have tools, methods that foster, promote this conversation among you guys. At the end, of course, there will be deliverables and works. I will show some of them to you later on. But I would like at this point to emphasize very much this must, which is working together. So we believe also that sustainability should be based on cooperation, mutual aid, and collaborative work. So we start that reflection in class, getting at work, following that direction. Social engagement. As I mentioned, for every edition, we take a real case that typically is posed or suggested to us by public authorities. That could be the case of this neighborhood that we're going to work with next year. And it's like there is this cooperation between stakeholders or agents and us, and we are providing these agents with some criteria, designing criteria, some reflections that they, because of their dynamics, sometimes they don't have the time to go deep into the conceptual definition on how to proceed sustainably, and our role is to help them with that. In the last 2 editions, we have been working very closely with the City Council of Barcelona, and this resulted with some outcomes that I will show you later on. Besides the authorities, part of our learning process happens out of class. So getting on the field, setting foot on the field, and participating in the different civic initiatives in the neighborhoods is a must for us. What you see here on the image are some students taking part on the entities fair that happens in some of these neighborhoods once a year. We go there, we interact with the communities, we talk to them, and the result of that is what we call a participated social diagnosis. And we also work with some cultural institutions, which is what you see on the right side of the screen, which is the Museum for Migration, which is located also around this area. And we organize together with them some drifts, some walking tours along or across the different neighborhoods, so that we learn firsthand from the residents what the different problematics are. So it's not, as you see, our program is not a theory-based program or a program full of recipes that we may apply generically on different contexts. It's much more based on empirical knowledge and learning by doing, learning by proposing and by designing on the different sites. And we sometimes, or most of the times, we give back to the different communities what we have learned. And what you see here is a walking tour with a secondary school class, telling them, learning from them, but at the same time telling them what our program is about and what we see in the environment where these youth live. Learning happens not only in class, but also out of class. And here you have some examples of that. Besides the activities that we organize within the school, within the wall, the university walls, there are some activities that they happen also outside. Many of our professors, they are also active professionals. They have their own practice, or they have been in contact with different initiatives or authorities. So we organize a set of site activities where our students get to know real-life initiative. And what you see, for instance, here is urban farming allotments in the city of Barcelona, or some other visits to different prototypes that they are built, actually. They have been built by students in our school, and they have been participating in solar decathlon competitions, if you know the experience, where our school has a long tradition of participating and actually being awarded with in different editions with different categories of prizes. Energy efficiency, low consumption, sustainable living patterns are the main trends of a long-standing experience of more than 20 years of our school, but actively participating in different solar decathlon editions. Cooperative housing is what you see on the left bottom side of the screen. Barcelona is quite a rich environment where locals, they've taken the lead in some initiatives on housing, meaning proposing alternative modalities of housing like co-housing, cooperative housing is a growing trend here in the city of Barcelona. So some of our professors also are either advisors of these initiatives or they are leading persons of these initiatives. So we always have the chance to go there and visit and learn from these co-housing, cooperative building, cooperative housing initiatives. And of course, wandering around and taking the bikes and learning from the environments, as you see on the bottom right image. I will go back to the schedule of the program, and maybe there will be questions at the end of the presentation. The study trip is also an experience that we proudly organize every year. So around Easter break, after being working and very much focused on this context, the metropolitan context, we always take our bags for a week and we go outside. Typically outside the metropolitan area of Barcelona, in rural Catalonia, we are for sustainable travel. So in the past, we have taken planes and visited initiative in Italy, it was planned in Egypt, in Morocco, getting to learn from, let's say, agricultural regenerative initiatives or some, more rural initiative where people go there and try to develop some sustainable communities. This was done in the past, but we realized that there are plenty of these initiatives here also at hand. So for some years ago now, we have been traveling in, let's say, 3-4 hours train trip, and we stay there, depending on the edition, several locations for a week, where in a totally different environment, we have the chance to initiate discussions and work on other issues that they may seem not directly related with metropolitan context, but at the end, we see also what is happening in the rural land, very much related to the metabolic flows or hubs that they are happening in metropolitan areas like ours, right? So that's the occasion for us to enjoy and to gather and to discuss together the different initiatives. And at this point, it is particularly relevant what we talk about the master thesis. Around Easter, the master thesis is an ongoing process, and those weeks outside the university are very useful for us to reflect on the different research topics that students typically they are developing at that time of the year. So when it comes to the different outcomes, just to give you what are the potential outcomes of such initiatives. So I just uploaded this proposal from last year. It's not necessarily the best, but it's, complete enough to provide you with what we do here, you will learn in this case. So, as I said, the social diagnosis is an important component. For this case, this year, we had interviews, meetings with 14 different local agents, covering the different profiles. And we processed those interviews, and with some methodology, we came up with the critical elements that bottom up are raised by residents, and we take that information as the starting point for our proposals, right? Data measuring consumption, impacts, carbon dioxide emissions, etc. It's also a very big component in our program. So assessing the metabolic flows and the impacts of our way of living in the cities are an important component. And then students define together with us, different strategies. What could be done in this particular environment? In this case, there were 4 different strategies that they are developing time, assessing what is the optimal use of the existing spaces, whether they are underused or they are in full use, and we propose some changes, some alternative in the usage of a space. The space is our main concern. So after this social diagnosis, this assessment of the impact of the city, how it is used today, we start developing functional program alternatives, as well as some technical solutions related with the water cycle, is what you see here also, energy harvesting, optimal bioclimatic architecture. So the idea is always to propose visions for our societal partners, in this case the municipality of Barcelona, so that they can imagine or envision alternative to the business as usual intervention, right? Which typically is very much based on just planting solar panels on top of the rooftops of buildings, right? So how to do that in time? Programming is also a must for us. So we devise different stages for intervention and how this could be translated into architectural solutions. In this case, not only addressing the thermal performance of the buildings and how to improve that, but also implementing accessibility, in this case, elevators. So sustainability must be economic sustainability, environmental sustainability, but also social sustainability. So providing universal accessibility for everyone is also something that we take very much into consideration. The activation of ground floors in this case, that some of them are empty or underused, and providing new uses based on cooperative and mutual aid is also something that we quite work a lot on. And in this case, considering rooftops as a space for socialization and for spaces that will allow a more sustainable way of living, sharing some facilities like washing machines, co-housing activities, etc., that may happen in these rooftops that today are very much underused. Some, visualizations of what may happen at the ground floor level, and some prescriptions or some images how this could be translated into actual spaces. That is as for regard for the studio-based, the proposals, based on the knowledge capitalized or gained during the first term, the 6 courses. And during the second term, there will be also the assignment to develop a master thesis. If you get the chance to write down these names, if you go to UPC Commons, which is the digital repository of our university, all the work produced by MISMeC is there. So it's open access for everyone to check, for everyone to have a look. So I propose for you to have a look to these 3 master theses. It's much better that you go through it so that you can have a better image of what is produced, what is the level of reflection, what are the topics that we cover here at MISMeC. So rather than me explaining you what a master thesis is, what is the structure, what are our topics, I think it's best if you go there and you check by yourself and see what kind of knowledge and production we are delivering here. So we cover very different issues, health issues. In this case, this thesis was presented last year. It works on the health and urban conditions, how the heat island factor is affecting us as residents in cities, and how the work on greenery, blue-green infrastructures may help in mitigating or addressing the different impacts of climate change in cities. There are others on a more, architectural scale or technical scale, like energy communities, if you're familiar with the term, working with the different balances, consumption and demands different hours for different activities in the city, and how renewable energies could help in balancing this problem that we have today in cities at the light of some issues when it comes to energy provision. And accessibility and mobility is also something that we very much work on. As far as car mobility, private car or motor combustion mobility is also posing a big impact in our environments. How could we minimize that impact by planning cities according to the 15-minute city concept? So these are the master thesis, 3 examples of them. But if you go to, again, to UPC Commons and you just Google there or search the word MISMeC, all the master thesis defended in the last 13 years will be there, so and downloadable in PDF format, so you will get the chance to consult them and to have a better idea what we do here. Opportunities or some of the outcomes, something that we have produced in the past, the last 2 years, some publications. This is a magazine, the Green Gazette, that we have as a permanent publication here at MISMeC. It's not a super scientific, super high level publication. On the contrary, it aims at reaching out locals and providing them with some information as a kind of devolution of the socio-spatial diagnosis that we did together with them, so that they gain trust, confidence in their own capacities for design or for taking action into their own living environment. Some exhibitions. This is the exhibition we have now here, the result of the last 2 years. It's at the moment at our school. So, by the way, this is our school, the main hall. And it will be traveling for the next half a year across the areas that we have been working on in the last editions. And so it's a kind of wrapping up summary of the different works that we have been producing. And your work, your names as participants of MISMeC will be there, and you will get the chance to see your work published and exhibited across the city. And for those of you interested on a more scientific career, we are also very active in organizing scientific events. Like a case in point will be the international conference that will take place at ETSAV next July, mid-July, where scholars and researchers from all over the world will be here with us, sharing their knowledge, and we will share with them what we gain through MISMeC and other initiatives here at the school. So this is also a possibility for those of you who are willing to explore an academic career. So career prospects. MISMeC, to give you an overview of how the education system works here in Spain, there are 2 kinds of masters here. There is the professional master. It's a degree that allows students to practice independently by themselves after they get the degree. That's a possibility, but only for those having studied previously the bachelor degree of architecture here in Spain. So this is not our case. We are not a professional master when it comes to the legal competences or the capacities to practice independently here in Spain. That's another track that only those having studied the bachelor level, the bachelor program in architecture here in Spain may have the possibility to access. But still, for sure, and this is our main goal, I could say, we provide the knowledge so that our alumni are able to practice professionally in different countries. I can give you an example of several examples of alumni that they are at work now in their home countries. They are very active in public administrations, ministries in Chile, now that I remember, in Chile, in Colombia, in authorities also, in municipal authorities in the US, for instance. That could be a track. There are other students that they work in consultant companies. Arup, for instance, one of our former students, she's working now at Arup in Ireland as a consultant. So having their own practice in their home countries, if they are allowed to. So they have their own offices and they gain knowledge with us in order to do that. So that's a professional track for the future. And some of them, they are still here. They don't have their own office, but they work in consultant companies on the environmental sector, on sustainability in built environment. And there is another possibility for those of you interested, which is pursuing academic career. The professional master degree does not grant access to the doctorate programs as we do. MISMeC is a Master of Science, meaning that if you want to access to the doctoral programs here in Spain or at UPC in particular, you need to go through a Master of Science, being MISMeC one of them. There are, in the architectural field, there are two. So those of you interested in research and academic career, this is the way. Yeah, we can fairly say that we are quite successful in both tracks. So almost 100% of our students, alumni, they are today working in the field, right? In the field of sustainability in architecture, in these different modalities that I very briefly summarized to you. So this is very briefly the presentation. So, and of course, what you will gain also, it's a community of colleagues that they are very active actually in their WhatsApp groups, and they help each other, and having enjoyed this quite intense, I could say, year together, a kind of trust for life is built, and you will gain this fantastic group of people that you will rely on in the future. And as, of course, professors that we will be here for you in the future whenever you need it. Okay, I did this very, very rapidly because I think it's best if you have questions. Now could be the time, and I could be more than happy to answer those questions that may have something to do also with some administrative procedures, and for that, Diana is also with me, willing to answer all your questions. Once we do, can I read out loud the question? I think it's best. How long does it take to know that we have been accepted? Actually, there has been a first 2 acceptance so far, so you will know almost immediately. We we accept applications based on first comes, first arrive, and now, if I remember well, 2 of them have been accepted already. And you will get an email straight from our system, and then a process will be initiated where you will need to follow some administrative steps, which, if I remember well, Diana is paying a reservation fee for the position.
Yes, it's 13 euros approx. 30 euros approx. The first time, and then if you accept the there is then it's 300, I think, but there are, when you pay the enrollment, you mustn't pay these 300 euros. No.
It's very good that you ask this, Joanna. I don't think it's the case for you, but many of our students are international. By the way, I forgot to mention that this program has been offered in English for the last 2 editions. We are in the 3rd edition where the program is offered in English. And for those coming from abroad, it's very recommended to start the process as soon as possible, because sometimes there are issues with the visa paperwork, and we found ourselves in the last year that some of the students, they couldn't get their paperwork done before the program started. So that's why we are starting to accept students starting from now. so that applicants or accepted students, they have plenty of time to go through all the administrative procedures, which is, depending on the country, on the home country, may be a little bit long.